All of us, whether we admit it or not, have some behavioral traits that we'd like to change. All of us have things that we know, I'm not living the best version of myself, that there is something better that I can do. There are things that we'd like to improve in our lives. And so when we're trying to understand these habits, what we do is most of the time we focus on the actions. So if we say, I'm getting very angry all the time, I'm shouting at too many people, if we want to fix that problem, we're thinking about the action. I'm shouting at people too much. I need to stop that action. If you're drinking too much, what you're doing is you're saying, I need to stop the action of drinking. And this works across all sorts of things, all sorts of negative habits that we want to improve. Whether you've got issues with lust, with attachments, with ego, whether it's gambling, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, it doesn't really matter. What we do is we focus on the action, but there is something before that action that we need to understand first. There are two things that we need to be aware of when we're looking at changing our habits. The first is our perception. The second is our actions. First, we have to identify our perception. Perception means the way I see things, the way I see myself, and the way I see the world. So how you think you are defines your actions. And where do our perceptions come from? Where does our self-identity and our idea of what we are comes from? It comes from all the circumstances that we've had in our life. Now imagine if you were young and your parents said to you all day, every day, you're a very clever child. How does that child grow up thinking, I'm a very clever child? If your parents said to you, you're a very stupid child, you're a very silly person, all day, every day you get that same message ingrained into you. What does that person do when they grow up? How do they think? They think, I'm a very silly person. You hear so many people say, oh, I'm very clumsy, I'm very careless. Where does that idea come from? They have a perception in their head, this is how I am. And then obviously when they do something, they say, oh, that's because I'm very careless. I am already deciding what my life is going to be like, and when certain things happen, they don't faze me because I've already decided this is who I am. This is called our perception. This is how we see ourselves, what we think we are. So how you think you are determines how you act. How you think you are decides what actions you're going to do. In fact, it decides all the actions that you're going to do. And the actions that you continue to do determines who you become. The kind of person that you become is by what you do. What you do comes from what you think you are. So everything that we do has an impact. Everything that happens in the world will then have a consequence. Because we don't just do things in the world without any consequences. Everything that we do has a consequence. And this is the real meaning of the word karam. That everything you do, every word that you say, impacts someone or something in some way. So we can call karam the rule of consequences. Everything has a reaction. Everything has an impact. So we need to understand that our self-perception is the first thing. And it'll be useful to just go through an example of that. How you think you are decides your actions. So if you continue to say to yourself, I am worthless, I am empty, I am unfulfilled, you will then perform actions to meet that emptiness, because you're already convincing yourself that I am empty. And we can do this in everything in our life. If you say to yourself, I am unhappy, if you diagnose yourself with this problem, I'm unhappy, then you will start doing actions that says, well, if I'm unhappy, then I don't need to go and please anyone else. I've already accepted there is a reality, I'm unhappy. Then you might start looking for happiness. Then you say, well, I'm drinking alcohol because it makes me happy. I've already decided that I'm unhappy, so now I'm going to go do things. I'm going to go gambling, I'm going to go stealing. I can do whatever I want because the main problem is I've already decided that I'm unhappy. So where do these things come from? Where do these habits come from? How do we get rid of these things? A habit is an action that you do again and again. A habit is a decision that you once made and then you kept making that same decision. Let's give an example. You go to work in the morning and maybe before you leave or maybe as soon as you get to work, the first thing you do is that you go to the coffee machine. And on the first day of your new job, somebody shows you, this is a coffee machine. You think, oh, I don't really drink coffee, chalo, I'll give it a go. And then you go in, you press the button and you get the coffee and you think, okay, I'll do that. The second day, you don't have to make that choice. So the first day you made the choice, you had to make a decision. You had to think, do I want coffee or do I not want coffee? The second day, you maybe have to make that decision a little bit, but the decision has already been made. The third day, you try again, you go in, and by the fourth, the fifth, the sixth day, then that choice isn't being made anymore. Then, regardless of whether you need coffee or not, you go into work, you go straight to the coffee machine, you press the button and a cup of coffee comes out. This is how habits are formed. That you keep doing an action. So the first day you had to make a decision. That decision becomes easier and easier every day, and eventually you'll say to yourself, I can't start my day without my cup of coffee. And you say, what do you mean? Oh, I'm addicted to coffee. How did you get addicted to coffee? I don't know. It just happened. So we don't know how our habits get formed. Your habit is a decision that you once made that is every day being made, and that decision becomes easier and easier and easier to be made. And eventually, a habit becomes so ingrained within us, the habit can be turned into an addiction. Now, what's the difference between a habit and an addiction? A habit is something you can say no to. An addiction is something you can't say no to. Even if you wanted to say, today I'm going to stop drinking coffee, you actually can't say no anymore. This is why people get addicted to smoking, they get addicted to alcohol. That's what the word addicted means. That I want to stop, but I actually can't do it anymore. But we don't know, where did this addiction come from? The addiction came from a habit. The habit came from a thought. A decision that you made at one point. You know, that decision came from a self-perception. Because there is something inside your head that says, I'm a grown-up now, I can drink coffee. So there is a perception, grown-ups drink coffee. So the first day you have to make that decision comes from this idea, I'm a grown-up now. So let me give you another example. If you're a vegetarian, you make this idea in your head, I don't eat meat. If somebody comes to the office every day and says, here's some meat, you don't have to make that choice whether I should or shouldn't, because there's a perception that, oh, I'm the person that doesn't eat meat. Do you see how your decisions are made? Your decisions aren't made just by weighing up, should I or shouldn't I? The decisions are made by who you think you are. If you say, sorry, I'm a person that just doesn't do these things, then even though the decision is being made in front of you, the decision's already been made by your own perception. It goes that far back. So when somebody says, I don't know why I'm addicted, you have to trace it back. It goes back to a decision that you once made, and before that decision it came from a perception. Who do I think I am? And that perception can come from anywhere in our past. This is how difficult these things are. This is why these things become quite difficult to let go of. You know, they say that when a river is flowing, water takes the path of least resistance. When a river is flowing down a mountain, it finds the easiest route. This is what we do with our habits. The first day the decision is difficult to make. The second day it's a little bit easier. The third day it's a little bit easier. So that river of decision making goes down the easiest route. Then at one point you have to make a decision. Do I want it or do I not want it? Which decision do you make? The easiest one. The easiest one says, I drink coffee every day, even though I think I want to stop, but it's easier to just carry on. That becomes your addiction. Your addiction is, I don't know how to say no. Even if I want to say no, for some reason it's not happening. Because your mind is working like that. It's just taking the easiest decision. So this is how our habits are formed. This is how our addictions are formed. And we need to have a better understanding of what we can do about them. So what we've done is we've made our panch chor our habits as well. If you say, I'm an angry person, I have anger issues, what you're basically saying is, I've already decided that I'm an angry person. So every time I get angry, it doesn't actually surprise me. That's who I am. But we need to understand where these things come from. There is a perception inside you. And why are they called sins? In English, we translate them as 5 sins. Because they're stealing your true nature. If you say, I'm an angry person, that's not who you really are. That's just an idea of what you think you are. If you say, I'm a mean person, that's not who you really are. That's an idea that you keep telling yourself who you are. So this is not your true identity. Your true identity is this amrit that's inside you. This is what the Guru is talking about. Amrit lute. They're stealing this purity inside you, this essence inside you, this goodness inside you. But we've accepted our sins. We've accepted our panch chor. Chalo, what can we do? They're with us. I'm an angry person. I'm a greedy person. This is just who I am. The question is, what do we do with these impulses? Should we try to be a saint? Should we all say, from tomorrow, I'm going to stop all the bad habits. I'm going to control all of them. What are we doing? We're trying to give ourselves a new perception. I'm not a bad person anymore. I'm a good person. I'm going to be one that tries to fix all these problems. But have you ever noticed that that doesn't really work? Have you ever tried to stop and it becomes fall back? So suppressing these panch chor isn't what's needed. Just saying, I'm just going to sit on my hands after that glass of alcohol. I'm not going to do that. It doesn't really happen very, very easily. It's very easy to go back into that same decision. So your saintliness only lasts for a very short moment. Good, today I'm going to be a saintly person. Your habits kick back in. Temptation comes back in very easy. So what you realize is you haven't really got rid of your problems. You just sat on it for a couple of days. You just suppressed it. You locked it down for a few days away, and after a couple of days that habit escaped. So your temptation to go back to what you've always known is always there. That temptation, I can resist everything except temptation. This is what we do. I can resist everything, just not temptation. And this is how we are, because this is human nature. So what do we do? How do we solve this problem? How can we wash this? How can we clean ourselves of this? How do we purify ourselves? How do we break our bad habits? People say that they want to break their habits, but the reality is we don't actually want to break our habits. Because the reason we're picking up that drink is because it actually tastes quite nice. We like it. The reason we get angry at people is because it gives us a little buzz that says, I feel right, I feel good, look how clever I am. If you knew that those things weren't good for you, if you actually felt that the things that you were doing weren't good for you, and you realized this is harming me, you wouldn't do it. But because there's a part of you that says, I'm getting some pleasure out of this. So there is a pleasure in our habits. In Japji Sahib, Guruji addresses this whole problem. Guruji says, Pariye mat papa ke sang o to pe nave ke rang. Guruji says, if your mind is full of all of these habits, make a new habit. If you want to get rid of old habits, you can't just deal with those habits. Guru says, make Naam your new habit. So, we said that these habits that we think we want to get rid of, we can't get rid of because they feel good. Do something else that feels even better. So when we perform certain habits, in the body they say that we receive 4 different happy chemicals. The scientists talk about 4 happy chemicals. I think it's dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, adrenaline, these kind of chemicals. That whenever we do any action and we feel a little bit happy, what's happening is a chemical is getting released from our brain into our body. And our body is saying, I like that feeling. We get a lot of these happy chemicals when we listen to music. When we listen to music, lots of nice happy chemicals come released into our body. That's what happiness is, this feeling that feels quite nice. There's some change in our being that says it feels quite nice. So, if your habits are making you feel nice, replace them with a newer habit that feels even better. And Guru says that the best habit, the one that will feel even nicer, is the habit of meditation, of Simran, of Naam. So Guru says that when this impulse arises inside you to do something that you want to stop, then you can make Naam the response. Make Naam your habit and make Naam the response. So when the feeling comes that says, I want to do it, what we do is we just make Naam the response, and that's not enough. That's why when sometimes we ask people, we say, what do I do when I have an urge, a desire to do the wrong thing? Somebody says, Simran karo. And we said, but I tried that, doesn't work. For about 2 minutes, I say, okay, why grew, and then temptation comes up. Doesn't work. Because you're trying too late. You're trying right at the last moment to use Naam. But that's not what we mean. What we're saying is make Naam your habit. When you wake up in the morning, start that habit off. What does Bani say is the ideal Sikh? Gur Satgur ka jo Sikh akhaye so palke ut har naam te aaye. The Sikh is somebody who gets up, the first thing they do, for no reason, they just start doing Naam. What do? We use Naam to fix our problems. That's too late. Do Naam first, and then your problems will go away. Wake up. You don't do Naam Simran because I feel stressed, I feel angry, I feel this. No. Do Naam Simran even if you feel good, even if you feel happy. But we don't do that, do we? When we feel happy, we forget. Only when we feel troubled inside do we feel like now we need to do some Naam Simran. This is why Bani also talks about Dukh Daru Sukh Rog Paya. Dukh is the medicine because at that point that's when you start remembering Naam. But if you want to overcome your habits, you have to make Naam your habit. So make Naam the choice that you have in your life every day. So when you do this as a response to your habit, there you're not suppressing your habits. We're not just saying, I have an instinct to kill this bad habit and then I'm just going to try and suppress it with Naam. We're not talking about suppressing it with Naam. We're saying that if the habit gives you happiness, there is a new habit that can give you more happiness. So start doing that on a regular basis. That becomes your normal way of living. That happiness that Naam gives you, let that be your normal happiness. And whenever this thought comes that I want to do something, then you can go to your habit of Naam. Naam is then not just a shield that you're putting up and saying, go away bad habit, I don't need you. That's not what you're doing. What you're saying is, I have a choice now. I can feel good with this temptation, which does feel good, or I can feel good with Naam, which I've already got used to. I've already got a good feeling going on inside me. I don't need that one to feel good, I've got this to feel good. But what this means, you have to make Naam Simran enjoyable. And nobody talks about making Naam Simran enjoyable. Everyone says just do Naam. Naam Simran can't be a chore. It can't feel like something like you're forced to do. It should be enjoyable. We talk about Naam being mitha, like a ras, this sweet, tasty juice inside of us. That's what Naam should feel like. And that means that you have to find a way to do Naam Simran that's enjoyable for you. There's lots of different techniques of so many different jathebandi and stuff. Everybody's got a different way of doing Naam Simran. Find the one that works for you. Some people do Naam Simran with music. And doing Naam with music, maybe that's the one that works for you. Some people do it with no music. Some people do it out loud. Some people do it in silence. You have to find the Naam Simran that makes it enjoyable for you. That's the thing that's going to keep it going. That Naam Simran is only going to keep going inside you when it feels enjoyable. When it feels like, I want to do that. That gives me peace. That gives me sukh. So find a way to do Naam Simran where Naam Simran doesn't become a chore, but Naam becomes a way of releasing those happy chemicals inside you. Every time you should do Naam, it shouldn't feel like, oh, here we go again. I have to do that Naam Simran stuff that the Gyani keeps telling me to do. It should feel like, wow, I've got more time to do Naam Simran. And it can be done anywhere. I come from London, and working in London, I go on the underground trains, the tubes, and that's the most noisiest, crammed thing that you can imagine. In the summer, it's burning hot. There's so much noise, there's so much pollution, you can barely breathe. But I used to use that time and say, you know what, I got 1 hour with no other distractions, I got nothing else to do. I can sit down and do my Naam Simran. Because you get up in the rush of the morning and you're getting out of the house and trying to get to work. Use any opportunity that you can to do Naam Simran. And if you can't do it while you're doing other important things, have it playing in the background. Have it playing in the background of your children while they're playing in their rooms with their toys, while they're doing their homework. Have that going. What are we doing? We're creating a habit. And you'll notice some people are so blessed that they say, when we were young, my mum used to just keep doing it. And now we just grown up with that. That's just become part of our life. This is how we create Naam as a habit, as an enjoyable habit. So you have to find a way that your meditation, your Naam Simran is rewarding to you. So when this thought arrives, Naam can be a way of just dealing with that. Naam is the way that you can combat those problems. You can recognize that a thought has arrived. If you're in Naam all the time, when a temptation arrives, you can see, I have a decision being asked of me. Do I need to go that way, or can I stay here in this Naam? Can I stay in this bliss of Naam? So you can even use your dukh as a medicine. When that choice arrives inside you, you can even say thank you. And this is something that becomes quite difficult initially, but over time, as Naam Simran becomes the most important thing in your life, even if an angry thought, if a lustful thought comes inside you, you can acknowledge the thought and say thank you. Because you know what we do? When our panch chor comes, we start fighting it. If you fight your panch chor, you're going to give them more power. Have you ever noticed that? If an impulse comes inside you and you say, I'm going to stop it, I'm going to fight it, what happens when you start fighting the other person? If you show that you're ready to fight, the other person says, I'm ready to fight as well. So both of you are ready. And when two of you are ready to fight, one of you will win one day and the other day the other person will win. One day you will beat your panch chor, the other day the panch chor will beat you, because you're giving it power by saying, I'm ready to fight you. But maybe if somebody comes to fight you, if your panch chor comes to you and you sit there and you say thank you, then the panch chor doesn't know what to do with you. What do you mean thank you? I'm here for a fight. I'm expecting a struggle. And you say thank you. I'm not going to engage with you, but I'm happy that you're here. Thank you. Then it doesn't know what to do with you. Somebody's come to you for an argument and you're not willing to have that argument. What happens? That person doesn't get more and more and more angry. They get deflated. Oh, okay then. Yeah, have you ever seen that? If you're going to have an argument with someone and the other person doesn't want to have an argument, And you think, oh, you just get confused. Don't fight your panch chor. Say thank you, come in. Just sit down. I'll be with you in a moment. I just got some Naam Simran to do. But that Naam Simran's never ending, so he's just sitting in the waiting room. You can keep it there. But if you open the door and say, oh, not you again, and you start fighting, then you're already giving it that power, because he's ready to fight and you're ready to fight. Don't fight your panch chor. But these things don't come easily. They come when we have a habit of doing Naam Simran. When Naam Simran is giving us so much sukh, then we don't have a reason to even fight the panch chor. The panch chor just say, oh, forget that guy. He's not worth it. He's never ready. He's never willing to fight. And this is when Bani says that the panch chor, they just run away. They don't know what to do with us. So we have to find a way to make Naam so pleasurable, so enjoyable in our life, that we can breathe it into our whole body. Our whole body is doing Naam. Not that we're just saying Naam like, oh, I shouldn't be thinking about this, I should be thinking about Naam. Okay, Waheguru, oh, and then your mind goes. Not that kind of Naam Simran. The Naam Simran that you breathe into your body. You feel that Naam. You wake up in the morning and it's just radiating out of you. It's joy, it's pure bliss, it's pure happiness. That is the Naam Simran that the Guru is trying to get us towards. And that is a new habit. Make that your habit and your old habits will fade away. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.